Hello, good morning. Coffee in hand. And our friends next door telling us how everything is this morning. 10 to 5. You know, we live in a changing world where many things that we grew up with or even became adults within an environment that is forever changing. And attitudes and ways of dealing with things are clearly taken a backward step, I think. The idea of honesty, the idea of openness, is always trying to be portrayed by our leaders around the world. But in everyday life, we're a cruel bunch of people. We, we tend to be very selfish about our, those are, that, how do I put it? It's dog eat dog, really, now. It's no longer, as the Bible might say, do unto others as you wish them to do to you or be with you. And that's hard to deal with when you've been maybe brought up with the idea that you shouldn't hit your sister, you should never hit a woman. And that's just one example, but it's not the main example. But one shouldn't tell lies. The Ten Commandments, in a way, is a blueprint for many things to happen through the centuries. It doesn't matter who came up with them. The reality is that to live by them or to try and achieve a lifestyle around them, even in a modern world, doesn't actually go to a point where it's a bad thing. It's a good thing. Obviously, you shouldn't kill. Thou shalt not covet another man's wife is another one. And there are so many things that we could live by. It doesn't mean we cloak ourselves in the sign of, But here in the Philippines, of course, Catholicism is a very big thing. And if you couple a lot of things together, it helps you to understand why so many Filipinos are God fearing people. And also the concept within Christianity that saving face, turning the other cheek, all these types of behaviors are important to Filipino and many Southeast Asian countries too, whether or not they're Christian or not. But one thing that comes through very often for foreigners is the feeling of injustice, the feeling that somehow somebody can say one thing in a way just to control you, to make you fear the unknown. When a relationship, of course, breaks down, all sorts of things are thrown at you, all kinds of condemnation or resentment or just simply untruths. And we have no defense. Well, we have no defense no matter where we are when, you're going through a horrendous situation, say overseas. You can tend to call on your friends and feel a comradeship and therefore an escape from what is reality a little bit. You can go to your mate and have a coffee or have a beer and have a bitch, and it somehow makes you feel better. But for foreigners here, unless you have large groups of guys that are willing, of course, to listen to your bitch, you have to suffer in silence. And one of the things that always has made it difficult for foreigners to maybe deal with the actual ramifications of moving on is the feeling that you're going to be seen in a bad light. Are they really telling everybody the truth? Are the family really aware of what's going on? I doubt it very much. But there's a sort of, if you confront it and say, okay, so the family know, do they? Okay, we'll see. And you maybe go over and speak to the family in their home in private. And then you discover that the family had no idea what was going on. So you have to ask yourself, are they just born liars? Or do they genuinely not know what's going on? I think that's probably the latter. They just don't know what's going on. And part of that, of course, comes with who wants to tell your brother or your mother or your father or your sister what terrible things are happening in one's life. We always like to portray a feeling of everything's fine, everything's dandy. But for us foreigners, when we feel that we are being maligned and maybe it's not quite all the truth, it's a watershed when you discover that the family maybe don't know. And it's not about creating trouble. It's about just taking off that heavy coat that makes you feel that everybody's against you. It's not seeking refuge in their, I suppose, amazement or surprise. It's just about knowing that really that was what was going on. And you discover that in actual fact, nobody knew until the last moment. And for us foreigners also, we also have to remember how many of you have actually discovered over a period of time that you were the last to find out this or that. We're kept in the dark. We're kept in the dark by, I suppose, petty jealousy, petty behavior in total. Because, there's always a friend, a friend, who might be there just, their job is to monitor you. In other words, it's almost like they've got a secret service who like to monitor everything that you're doing. Why don't they just get on with what they're doing and leave you alone? When the line is drawn and you know that a relationship is over, that's it. Both of you know the ground rules. That's how it is. And as a result, each of you should be adult and try and at least have a civil separation, allowing each other both to move on. But don't throw into the mix a load of BS, because to do that just leaves indecision, a feeling of, is it really over? Or is this how they really feel? Because really, none of us know unless we tell the truth. If we say how it really is, how it's been horrendous, annus horribilis, as we call our dear Queen said once for a year. Not sure what year it was, but she used that term, and it's become viral. And certainly myself, at nearly 77, it's very easy for Filipinos to suggest that, oh, not my problem. But to pick up the pieces and to move on is a major undertaking. To move from what is, in all sense of the word, security, your home, your friends, your neighborhood, to go into the big black abyss is a terrifying situation at any age, really, but even more so when you're almost at the end of your life. So whilst the Filipino might feel, oh, great, new change, new people, new friends, nothing much changes for them. Because after all, maybe you've given them a home, maybe you built them a house, maybe you provided them with a business or the tools from which to do. It doesn't matter what you've done, but to move on is always a difficult task. Now, in my case, I've had a wonderful time having a trip to vegan. It was a really eye-opening experience. The first time I've been away from home, and I realised that I can survive on my own. It will be difficult. It has been difficult. And I'm hoping that this coming few weeks will be a chance to look at other parts of the Philippines, other opportunities to see how others live, to discover how life does continue in its own way after death. And I'm still hoping to go to Happy Land and Makati and Chinatown and that famous bridge that the young mayor of Manila encouraged businesses to renovate and restore in the Parisian style or European style. Not sure what the bridge is called, but there. And also the fortress would be an interesting place to go to. And I hope that all of you watch my videos on both channels and that you enjoy the experience that I'm sure I will. And I suppose that's all I can think of this morning. But no doubt I'll have to come up with something on Grumpy Brit in the Philippines as well. So those that haven't watched my new channel, Grumpy Brit in the Philippines, I welcome you to come and watch, because they are different videos. They're not the same. They may have a sort of a thread going through them that's similar, but it gives you another opportunity, another perspective of how life is here in the Philippines for a foreigner. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. And you have a great day. Bye now.